Man, it's so good to be up here this morning, and I've got to start you guys off with a little warning. There's probably a reason why Pastor Ben is waiting until now to put me into the game. I can probably best sum it up with this story. One Sunday, Chris and I were at church at the seminary we went to, and we had a really good friend there who's a speech pathologist. Her name is Meredith. And so one day after service, I went up to Meredith and said, Meredith, I know you're a speech pathologist, and you've got to help me out. Sometimes when I get a little excited or a little nervous, you just never know what's going to come out of my mouth. You know, sometimes the sentences are jumbled, or I say a wrong word here or there. And she looked at me and she said, Tim, good news, there's absolutely nothing wrong with your speech at all. And so for a brief moment, I felt really good. But then she chimes in and she says, Tim, you don't have a problem with your speech. Your problem's a brain problem, and there's nothing we can do to help you. So, man, you got to love friends like that. Hey, this morning, I want us to look at what is the essence of community. You know, I think this is going to be a timely message. Many of us, with the new year, probably already started thinking about 2012, new hopes, new dreams we have, maybe some old habits we want to stop doing or new habits we want to start. And so today I really want to talk about that because I think I believe it is going to be a timely message. Who in here in this room today has already made up at least one New Year's resolution for 2012? Raise your hand. Maybe if you're like me, maybe 6 years ago, I was a little too cool for New Year's resolutions, so I had a lifestyle change that lasted maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Anyone in here with New Year's resolutions? Raise your hand. Let's hear this. Okay, even if you didn't raise your hand, I'm going to count to 3. Everybody just yell out in an inside voice your top New Year's resolution for 2012. Okay? Count to 3. If you didn't raise your hand, it's okay. I wasn't counting. So count 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's some good ones, some impossible ones. Be scared than Tim. I'm not sure how that's going to go.
Come on, man.
Read the Hunger Games, finish the Hunger Games. That's a good one. That's good. I'm almost 2/3 done with that myself. Well, anyways, I do want you guys to know something here. I did find a survey on New Year's resolutions from the Opinion Corporation of Princeton, New Jersey. And here's what they found out about New Year's resolutions. Only 8% of you out there always achieve your New Year's resolutions. Okay? 8% of you always achieve them. 19% of you achieve your New Year's resolutions every other year. Okay? So you take a year off. 49% of you, this is going to be half of you, you infrequently have success with your New Year's resolutions. And this is my favorite one, and I'm not sure, I hope I don't fall into this one, but 24% of you, 1 in 4 of you here this morning, you have never succeeded. And I failed on every resolution of every single year you have been alive. 24%, 1 in 4 of you have always failed your resolution. So, anyways, good luck to you out there. Look, I want to submit to you this morning that what you do with community will either help or hurt your chances in achieving your goals and dreams for 2012. I say this because community is encouragement. Right? Community is having people in your life that when you're off track, maybe when you've shared people what your dreams are, your hopes are, and you're a little off path, they're the people who are going to step in and tell you, look, man, you need to make some changes. You've said you want to do these things, but you're a little off track. Community is also having people in your life to win with, to people to celebrate with, people to pat you on the back, give you a high five when you do that. When you do finish reading the Hunger Games, I'll be there to give you a high five. Look, community is also having people, to share your burdens with in life, right? Community is having people to cry with when things are going good. Anyone in the room in here not a crier? Like you have the full spectrum of emotions, but you just don't cry? I'm one of those people. Any other non-crier? Okay, we got a few in here. Fantastic. Look, if we're ever having breakfast or lunch or coffee one day and we're sitting together and you're telling a really tragic story and maybe you've told the story before and it usually gets a few tears out of the person, but I'm not crying, I'm just shaking my head. If I'm doing this, know that I'm crying on the inside. Look, when you have people in your life who can cry with you, people to celebrate with, people to carry those burdens with, look, that is community. All right, this morning I want to start off in the Bible in chapter 13 in the book of John. We've got a couple volunteers passing out Bibles today. Yeah, that's right. So if you need a Bible today, will you just raise your hand? We've got Bibles that you can have. Like, look. These are completely free Bibles. You don't have to steal them if you think you want it. You don't have to stuff it under your shirt or in your purse. You can have this. You can take it home with you. The security guard's not going to take it away from you when you leave today. Unrelated to that, though, please do not take home our black chairs. like the gentleman last week. Hey, anyways, in John 13, we're going to be on page 585. So 585, if you have the guest Bible this morning. And again, basically what we're about to walk into here is Jesus and his 12 disciples are about to have what we now know as the Last Supper. And as was custom in that day and age, there would be a servant there who would wash the feet of the people coming to the party and so forth. And for whatever reason, perhaps it was planned, that servant was not there today. So basically, Jesus gets on his knees and he washes the feet of his disciples. And the disciples were really just shocked with humility. And it was really an unprecedented act for a teacher who was claiming to be God, who was God, for him to get on his knees and to wash the feet of people, which is really just unprecedented at that day. So anyways, that's the scene we're about to walk into. So follow with me. I think the words will be on the screen too as we begin with verse 34 and go through 35. Jesus says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Love one another just as I have loved you. This is the true essence of community. Love one another, the true essence of community. This is the glue that keeps community together. Love. Love is the glue that keeps community together. And love is what brings people into community, right? It's what makes community attractive. And love is what Jesus commands us to do to each other, just as he loved us. Literally, like, think about this. Literally, you're supposed to love other people. That means people in this room, right? Like, it's easy to be walking down the street and say, yeah, I love those people that I've never met before. Like, I love all mankind kind of thing. But to actually love people that you do life with, that is a bit more tricky. Think about this even in practical terms. Like, people in this room, the people sitting next to you, you're supposed to love these people. In fact, let's go ahead and tell them right now. Turn to the person to your left and say, hey, look, man or woman, I'm supposed to love you. Look to the person to your right and say, hey, man, I'm supposed to love you. Look. Some of you guys have got several lefts. That's fantastic. Hey, look. Love is the true essence of community. But how do you love someone? Look, there's a lot of different ways that love can manifest itself, right? Nothing new there. But I do want to look through a few places in the Bible where it talks about how we can actually love people. First, and you don't have to turn with me to this, Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. Feel free to reference that if you're a note taker, if you're going to read back to it. I think it'll be on the screen as well. Hebrews 10, 24. And let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. Here, the author of Hebrews is telling the readers that, look, we need to be intentional about how we're to love one another, right? Don't be just haphazard with good intentions alone, right? Like, don't just say, hey, I'm going to go to Epic, or I'm going to go to church, I'm going to be with my community this Sunday, and if something good happens, something good happens. Here, the author is saying, look, be intentional about it. Think it through. Consciously think through how you're going to love other people. Don't let it happen just by accident. And the author here is also, telling us, but encourage one another. One way that we can love people is to encourage each other. Next, I want to read from Galatians 6:2. Again, you don't have to turn there if you don't like, but Galatians 6:2. Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Here, Paul, the author, is telling the church of Galatia to carry each other's burdens. And we're going to be talking about carrying each other's burdens here in a moment, but the law of Christ was to love one another. That's what Jesus told us to do. We read from that earlier. And Paul is teaching us that if we can bear one another's burdens, that's another way that we can love each other. And finally, if you will, turn with me to 1 Corinthians 13. It will be on the screens here. We're going to be a little bit longer here in this section of verses. We're going to start off in verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith, so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. And finally, for you guys out there who love a good list, something that's easy to follow, these next few verses are for you. Picking up in verse 4. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And finally, jump down to verse 13. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Loving intentionally is not always easy, is it? You know, there's some things in the Bible where I read through, I'm like, yeah, okay, I do that well, I don't do that well, check. But when it comes to loving, there's been so many times where I've fallen short on this, right? Like sometimes I do, but so many times I fall short on loving. And loving is not easy, not always. But neither is being a genuine community. Community doesn't happen overnight, and rarely does community happen without a whole lot of intentionality. Genuine community, I would even say, probably never happens accidentally. It takes commitment. You know, many times you're going to have to do things you don't want to do if you're going to truly love the people in your community. It can be messy. It usually is, actually. And but I'll tell you this: though it can be difficult, it can be hard, it can be maybe the most difficult thing we can do if you think about it. But it's always worth it. If you're going to live in community and be close enough to someone to love them, you have to start somewhere. And right now, I'd like to go ahead and give you guys just 3 practical steps that in 2012, this coming up year, this year, that you can start living community now, right? Like I said, you've got to be close enough to people to actually love them. It's too easy to say, oh yeah, I love these people driving down the sidewalk that I don't know. You've got to be close enough to love them. First of all, get involved in a small group. Here at Epic, our small groups are called Epic Groups, and they're an incredible way to meet with 10 to 15 other people on a weekly basis. It is the best way I know to really share life with other people in an organized way, right? Because you get the set pattern, set schedule. It's a great place to carry the burdens of other people that we read about in the Galatians verse. I encourage you to get involved in those. You know, I know many of you in this room, even today, as good friends, because we got together in Epic Groups past. And I would really encourage you guys to get involved in Epic Group. We're going to start sign-ups here in January, and then the weekly meetings will start in early February. So keep your ears perked open for those. You're going to want to get involved with it. And if you haven't been involved before, give it a try this go around. They're incredible, and it's the best step I know how to take forward in being a genuine community here at Epic. The second way to practically get involved and to be a community here at Epic is to volunteer. We have over 120 volunteers here at Epic Church. In fact, if you're a volunteer, will you raise your hand right now? That's right. That's a lot of hands. That's a lot. It's not 120, but that's a lot of hands. And look, our volunteers allow us to do ministry here on Sunday morning. They help with the Epic Kids. They help with hospitality. The programs you receive, the volunteers made those, put them together. With the tech team, with the band here even. Volunteers really help this thing go on Sunday morning. And not only on Sunday morning, but also during the week. We've got volunteers who help with the Epic Groups that I mentioned, people who lead them, people who host them in their house, people who help come and do work, administrative type work in the office. There's lots of opportunities to volunteer at Epic. And I would say, not only are you doing a worthwhile cause with volunteering, but it's a great opportunity to get to spend life with people, right? You get to serve alongside one another on a regular basis, and you get to hear their story, you get to talk and chat and catch up. It's a great way to do life with them. But not only that, you get to meet the people who come into Epic, many of them looking to connect, and you get to be a first place for them to start connecting. If you're interested in volunteering, like you're not already doing that, but you're interested, the easiest way you can start is on the communication card that we talked about earlier. On the back of that, it says, I'd like to volunteer. Just check that thing. Be sure your email address or at least the phone number is on the communication card somewhere. And turn that in, and somebody's going to call you this week, and we'll start those next steps of getting you plugged in. And finally, the third practical way of getting involved here at Epic Church is to, when you're in town, come to Epic. Right? Like so many of us, our works require us to travel, or maybe we have family all around the country or world, so we're doing a lot of traveling. But when you're here, come to Epic. Come be with your community. If you're a stranger, you can't truly be part of the community, right? And when you are traveling, stay in touch, right? Stay in touch. Email or text or call people that you know from Epic, or listen to our podcast. That's a great way to stay in touch with the life of the church. And and also be sure you're getting our weekly newsletters. almost every Wednesday we send a newsletter out to people who are on the email list. If you're not on there, be sure you turn in your email address so that you're getting those. It's just a great way to know what kind of events are coming up and how you can stay involved. So be sure you let us know if you're not getting those. If you'd like to, be sure your email address is on a communication card. Or maybe if you've already turned it in the past, be sure you just write it again. Say, hey, my information's changed. So we'll be sure we got your right information in the database. And finally, you can do all three of these things, right? Epic group, volunteer, come to Epic. But it doesn't guarantee you're going to be part of the community, right? You can kind of go through the motions, but it doesn't mean you're going to get deeply involved in people's lives. Let me give you a little further advice on how to do these things so that you do get plugged in. First of all, just introduce yourself, right? Invite people for coffee or for lunch or whatnot after Epic one Sunday or maybe during the week. Get to know people. It is people's natural tendency in general, maybe even more specifically in a urban setting like San Francisco, is to stick to themselves, right? For example, you're walking down the street and you hear somebody screaming to themselves, making a loud fuss. What do? You keep to yourself and you keep on walking. Or you're walking down Union Square and you see critical mass turn the corner and there's like several dozen naked people riding bicycles. What do? You keep to yourself and you keep on walking. The same thing with Epic Church, right? You come in here, maybe you don't have a lot of friends here already yet. You come in here, you get the coffee, you grab your program, you walk to your seat, you sit down, you listen to the service. Service ends, you get up and you go home. Look, I urge you all today, break through the burden to stick to yourself. Start off by introducing yourself to someone. Here at Epic, we have something we call the 3-minute rule. Essentially, for the first 3 minutes after service is over, don't talk to anybody you know. People who come to Epic and they're your buddy already, they've already got friends, they're well connected, dude, they're going to be hanging out past 3 minutes and you can chat with them then. But the people who do come to Epic and they don't know anybody, right? Maybe they're coming first time, maybe they've been coming for a while, but they haven't really connected. Look, these are people who are going to get up and they're going to leave within the first 3 minutes. So within the first 3 minutes, I urge you all, even starting today, if you haven't done it before, chat with somebody. Introduce yourself to 1 or 2 people you don't know for the first 3 minutes after the service is over. Just say hi. Tell them your name and what you do and start from there. That's a great beginning in starting to build community. If we are going to be a genuine community, we have to love people. And we always need to invite people to come be part of our community. I want to also encourage you guys, don't create barriers that make it difficult for people to come be with us, right? Don't create cliques. Don't make it difficult for people to come in and join our community. If you're chatting with your friends, and you see someone who you don't recognize kind of standing by themselves or maybe waiting for service, bring them in, invite them in, introduce them to your buddies, introduce them to yourself. We don't want there to be difficult barriers to come and be part of our community here at Epic. Look, can we all agree to be community here? The essence of community is love. And if we're going to have love in our community, we're going to have to love people. The essence of community is love. In fact, can you say that with me? The essence of community is love. That's right. That is absolutely right. And finally, this morning, last thing I'd like to say is, not only do we need to look to Jesus as an example of how to love, but we need to each personally know and experience the love that Christ has for us. Maybe this is your very first time in a church, or maybe you've been coming to church your whole life. You've probably heard this verse at some point or another, at least a small part of it. It's John 3:16. It says, look, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son. But whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. This morning I would finally submit to you that the best way to learn how to love those in your community is to first be loved. And there is no greater love than that which Christ has for us. If you're here today and you've never experienced the love of Christ, you've never even thought about it, man, I want to encourage you. In just a moment here, we're going to say a prayer. Will you just tell God, like, in your head, like, pray to him, God, I want to know what it means to be loved by you, and I want to love you. You just tell him that. Just say it. Praying is just as simple as that. Tell him in your head. As we do pray here, remember the words of Jesus that we started off with this morning. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for allowing us to be able to come here on a Sunday morning like this and to be a community. Man, Father, there's such a healthy community already here. And it's such an honor just to be part of it myself. God, I pray specifically this morning, God, that you will further develop the community here, God, that we will remember that the true essence of our community here is love, Father. Lord, many of us would know that, yeah, we're supposed to love each other, God, but so many times we forget to, or we don't remember, or we get distracted or sidebarred by something else, God. Will you help us just be that constant reminder in our heart, God, that we are to love one another. When opportunities come up for us to show our love, God, let us take it. Help us to take it. God, remind us to take it. God, we thank you for everything. God, we pray all these things.